Welcome, new and old friends. My name is 242, and today I have 5 Glitch in the Matrix stories for you. I'm also joined by PA Nightmares to help me tell these tales. I also wanted to mention this is my 100th story video, and that's just crazy to me, so thank you guys so much. Now, grab yourself a tea or coffee, things are about to get interesting. I Saw My Blood Before I Got Cut by Issac. So this happened about a year ago in August. Not as crazy as some posts here, but I thought it was pretty strange. At the time, I was working as a painter. We would get a load of lumber meant for trim on a house. We would take the trim to my boss's shop, sand, lacquer, and stain them. My coworkers in, and I was outside in the sun, working on sanding the rough 80 pieces of trim we had. Upon finishing sanding these boards, we would take them together. They were too big for one person to carry, to a rack inside. Suddenly, we started noticing little red splotches of wood that we thought looked like blood. It got annoying because we would see them on already finished boards, and then we'd have to go back and sand them off. We all checked ourselves for cuts, or nosebleeds, or any source of blood. Nothing. It kept happening, right in front of our faces. We would be sanding and look back at where we just finished, and there would be a little red drop that looked like blood. It was getting all over the boards and becoming a pain to go back and redo our work, so once again, we stopped, and this time checked each other for the source. Again, all 3 of us were clean and could not tell where it was coming from. We considered the idea that it was sap from the wood, but this type we were working on had a yellowish sap we had already been dealing with. Not red and a liquid-like phantom blood. Finally, I ran my hand over the board to see if it was smooth, and I drove a splinter into my finger. I cursed and lifted my hand, and 2 little crimson drops of blood fell onto the board. They looked exactly like what we were dealing with, like I had been bleeding on the board this whole time. Except there was no way. At this point, we were all a little weirded out, and took a smoke break. I pulled out the splinter and put on a band-aid, and we all got back to work. There was no more red splotches after this. Nothing too insane, but none of us could explain where the blood was coming from or why it had stopped. Hey, don't forget to leave a comment and tell me what you think down below.
Paper disappeared and then reappeared by Delvana 001. So, I've read before that people say they've had things they know they put in a specific place just go missing and then crop up in the exact place it was at to begin with, and well, it happened to me. My mom had asked me to make an appointment and take her cat to the vet because she was really busy with work and doesn't have the time. Her cat is having some problems, and since I could spare the time, I agreed. So I called the vet, made the appointment, wrote down the details on a piece of paper to stick it to my calendar so I wouldn't forget, ripped the paper off the pad it was on, and placed it right next to the pad for about 30 seconds, while I turned around to walk in the opposite direction to grab my phone on the couch so that I could place an alert on my phone, and when I walked back to grab the paper, it wasn't there. I have a bad memory due to health problems, so I have to put appointments in multiple places so I don't forget. I looked at my husband and asked if he moved it. He was in the kitchen cleaning up and shook his head. I told him I placed the paper right there and pointed and said, "It's gone." He helped me look for a good 5 minutes, looked on the floor, around the kitchen countertops, around the area where I said I had it. I even looked around the couch, the entire kitchen floor, and the trash. Just oddball places that I thought, well, maybe I thought I placed it down, but don't remember throwing it away or leaving it on the couch. So I grabbed my pen and wrote down the details again, ripped off that piece of paper, walked to the calendar, stuck it on the calendar, turned back around, and there is the paper. The stupid little piece of paper that was right where I had left it, right next to that stupid notepad that both myself and my husband checked all over for, acting like it was right there all along and I'm going out of my mind. I literally started an argument with my husband because I was convinced he did this as a joke. When he started to get upset that he never touched it, didn't move it, and why would he perpetuate my memory problems like that? I looked down at the dumb piece of paper and surrendered to the fact that it was there, and now it's back. So, now there are 2 pieces of paper with my mom's cat's appointment details stuck to the calendar.
Something I can't explain happened. By No Neighborhood 1485. I wanted to write this a few hours after it happened so I don't have false memories, and I can look back on it later. I'm usually a very rational person, and I hate this website, to be honest, for what it has become over the past few years. But I wanted to write this for me, just so I can look back on it. So, pretty much, I'm homeless at the moment. Well, I go looking for housing, and I'm staying in, usually shitty, hotels, while I wait to find a place to move into. I have money saved up, so I don't have to literally live on the streets. Long story short, I got out of rehab and relapsed quickly and was staying in sketchy hotel rooms for a few days at this point. Since then, it's been about 5 days, and just today, I finally found something I couldn't explain. Just for clarity, I have a massive tolerance to alcohol and have control how drunk I get. I don't hallucinate or have crazy dreams. I don't dream at all while using, and I don't have false memories or memory loss yet. I'm only 28. Okay, so I was at 7-Eleven after drinking myself above a buzz, but not drunk at all, which for myself is quite a lot of shitty malt liquor. The chip in my debit card is broken, so I have to either hope the store I go to either has a system in quick entering the chip failing enough times triggers me to swipe it, or just order everything online. 7-Eleven's system never prompts you to swipe, and if you try, it will just forever say, "Wait for the cashier." And it will decline every time. Pissed off that I couldn't get my cigarettes at 2 in the morning, I was about to leave when this young Hispanic kid, about 25, asked me if I had a Cash App and if I knew that I could just add funds to the virtual card and use my phone to pay for the items. He helped me set it up and eventually buy my cigarettes, and I thanked him and gladly sent him $5 on the Cash App for the help. We talked outside and smoked, and I found out we were both staying at the hotel about 50 feet from the 7-Eleven. He told me his room number and asked if I did other drugs, and I declined. He was also homeless and staying at the hotel. I told him my room number and wished him good luck. Later that night, I got a knock on the door. I opened it, and it's the kid asking me if I had a charger that he could borrow. For a number of reasons, I was not too trusting of this guy, but I was in a good mood, and he seemed like a good kid, so I let him borrow it because I knew where he was staying just a few doors down. Or so he said. I woke up around 8 a.m. and realized he had never tried to give my charger back. I knocked on the door for the room he told me he was residing in, and there was no answer. I just assumed he stole it, and I was being a naive idiot, which I usually am guilty of being because of my faith in people. I had to go buy a new, shitty charger at the 7-Eleven because my phone was dying and I was pretty pissed off at the time. Fast forward to today. In a different hotel miles away from the other, I didn't know this guy and I don't have his phone number or anything. I was looking for something in my suitcase and pulled out the same charger I lent the dude I met at the 7-Eleven. Built-in Lightning made for an iPhone 12. I couldn't believe my eyes. The only way this would be possible if he lied to the front desk of the ghetto hotel, telling him that he was the owner to the room and lost his key, and then snuck in and put it back. I never black out with my tolerance, and I wasn't taking any benzos either, which will make anyone forget entire days or weeks if mixed with alcohol. This is just one of those unexplainable things that I've seen in my life. What the fuck happened? If you're enjoying this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it.
A Friend of Mine Apparently Never Existed by AdamHoleBayBay 1. My friend of the past 5 years never existed. So, this is gonna sound crazy, but here it goes. Around 5 years ago, I moved to a new school during my senior year of high school. I didn't necessarily have trouble making friends, as I joined the football team, and they are very welcoming of me. I enrolled in this sort of advanced PE class that was for athletes in the school. That is when I met a dude named Tyler, who was a grade younger than me and was also on the football team. We instantly got along, and he became probably my best friend at the school. We would hang out outside of school, but for some reason, he would never come over to my house, and never wanted me to come over to his house. I didn't think too much of it. Anyway, I graduated that year, and we haven't really talked since. We would occasionally text about the NFL, but nothing more than that. I had a dream last night about the guy, and when I woke up, I figured I would text him and see how he was doing. I couldn't find his contact in my phone, but that's not uncommon, as I've had several new phones since I was in high school. I asked some of my old high school buddies if they had Tyler's number, and they acted like they had no idea who I was talking about. I even searched social media to see if I could contact him through that, but still couldn't find him. I was feeling like I was losing my mind. So, I asked one of my buddies if he could find him in the yearbook from that year, and he said he could not. I didn't bother to purchase a yearbook that year, because that was my only year at that school. I even checked out Max Preps, a website that records high school football rosters and stats. But I didn't find him on there either. After a couple hours of syncing iCloud photo data to my phone, I ended up finding a picture of me and him, but nobody seems to recognize him. I have no idea what is going on, and I was wondering if anybody has shared a similar experience. Here is a link to the photo of me and him back in 2016. Edit. A couple people have messaged me asking if I got his name confused. I guess it's possible, but I have plenty of solid memories of the guy's name, because his first name was my middle name, and we used to call each other Tyler at the mall and stuff to confuse people. I absolutely remember his last name too. Update. After requesting a record request from my high school, they told me they could not give out any personal data, but they did say nobody by that name ever attended this school. Also, After paying a professional website to go through the one picture I had of him, they could not find any matches. After talking to several people from my high school from social media, all but one person said they have no recollection of him. The one person said they did remember me hanging out with one special kid that he couldn't remember, but couldn't verify it was Tyler. This whole experience has been pretty mind-blowing. I really do appreciate everyone's comments and messages. The most plausible explanation here is that he was probably in witness protection. But wouldn't more people remember him? Especially being on a football team at a rather large public high school? Speaking of which, I've combed through pictures and rosters from several websites of our team, and there is no trace of him. Sometimes there are things in life that are genuinely unexplainable. However, sometimes you just have to accept these conditions, which I'm slowly learning to do. Thank you all for helping me on this bizarre mental journey.
Bandmate in Two Places at Once by Anonymous. So, here's my glitch story. April 2017, my band was on a road trip to Roswell, New Mexico, of all places to play a gig, and I believe it was somewhere in Missouri at night that we stopped at a rest stop. No idea exactly where we were, but I remember saying to my bandmates as we pulled into the lot that this place gave me Twilight Zone vibes. It just had an eerie sort of presence to it, and I like that kind of shit, so it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. So, I don't even know what the other two guys were up to. They may have just stayed in the car. But what I do know is that me and the bass player had to go inside and piss. This is just your normal setup of a parking lot out front of a rest stop off a highway. I don't smoke anymore, but back then I did. Me and the bassist decide to smoke a cigarette first before going inside to pee. He offers me a cig and ensues to call up his girlfriend to update her on how the trip is going. So, I'm just standing there smoking and chilling, and he's standing next to me smoking and on the phone. We are both out front of the entrance to the rest stop, and we are both facing outwards towards the parking lot with our backs to the entrance of the building. Suddenly, while still on the phone, the bassist starts casually walking back out towards the van in the parking lot. I see him walking away, and his voice grew more and more distant. I don't recall how far away we parked, but there's only one lot, and I remember just seeing him walk into the distance in front of me, still on the phone with his girlfriend. This confused me, as I thought he had to go inside to piss, but I didn't give a shit, and I was finishing my cigarette as the moment unfolded. So I just shrugged and put out my cigarette and immediately turned around to head inside the rest stop building. As soon as you get inside, it's completely empty, but you have to walk straight down this hallway to get to the bathroom. I remember there was some sort of Route 66 clock that had a spiral shape or something directly above us as you entered the hallway. It just overall had a Twilight Zone sort of vibe to it. I don't know how exactly to explain this experience. So, I'm walking down the hall and get into the bathroom, and I hear someone in the stall who is talking on the phone. His voice sounds exactly like my bassist. No one else is in the bathroom. I can't see who is in there, but I'm standing at the urinal pissing and laughing about how weird it is that this guy sounds so similar to my bandmate. But I know for a fact it can't be him, as it would be physically impossible for him to have gotten into the bathroom before me when I had literally just saw him head out towards a car in the parking lot about 20 to 30 seconds earlier at most. I even said to myself, now that would be ridiculous if it was somehow him. But even as I said this to myself, I knew for a fact it wasn't him. Except that it was. Sure enough, a moment later, the stall door opens and out comes the bassist, still on the phone with his girlfriend. I'm finishing pissing, so he is behind me washing his hands. I turned around and I see him still on the phone, and he's now walking out of the bathroom. I don't even think that he noticed me in there with him, but at this moment, I was absolutely stunned. And I'm left there in the bathroom by myself wondering what the fuck just happened? I end up telling him and everyone about this when I got back to the van. And he also explains that he went through a different series of strange events, but I can't remember the details of his side of the story anymore. All I know is that it was simply physically impossible that he could have been in the bathroom before me when I literally saw him walk out into the distance towards the van, and I immediately head inside to the bathroom. Sorry if this was overly long, but I wanted to be succinct as possible about how it went down. I do hope you enjoyed these stories, and thank you, PA, for helping me with this one. All of PA's links are in the description box. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're a new friend, become an old friend by subscribing and turning that pretty little bell to all notifications. Most importantly, tell me what you think. I love to hear your thoughts. Again, this is my 100th story video, and I really couldn't have done it without all of you. It's been so amazing, the people I've met, the stories I've gotten to read, and I hope to give you so much more. Thank you, every single one of you. I hope you have a good day.